Long Island medium Theresa Caputo recently announced that she is expecting her new boyfriend's child. She is currently 6 months pregnant. However, her family has commented on the decision, especially regarding the age. However, Theresa Caputo said she would not listen to anyone from the family and said, "My boyfriend will be staying with my children. It's not right for others to comment on this." Theresa Caputo, the well-known Long Island medium, had always been open about the extraordinary things she could sense, but this new chapter in her life felt like the most extraordinary of all. At 54 years old, she found herself in a situation she never thought possible, pregnant with her boyfriend's child. 6 months along, Theresa couldn't have been happier. The news had taken the world by surprise, but it was something she had prayed for, dreamed about. Her boyfriend, a kind-hearted man in his mid-40s, had been by her side for the past year. Their connection was undeniable, and as their love grew, so did the idea of expanding their family. But when the news reached her family, it wasn't all cheers and congratulations. Her children, in particular, were conflicted. Her daughter, who had been in her mid-20s, expressed concerns about the age gap. "Mom, you're older now. Are you sure this is the right time? Don't you think we should think this through more?" Her son, who had been quiet at first, finally spoke up. "I just don't want you to get hurt, Mom. You've been through a lot already." Theresa smiled gently, knowing their concerns came from a place of love. She was their mother after all, and they only wanted the best for her. However, deep down, she knew that her heart had found something precious with her new boyfriend, and their love was something she didn't want to deny, regardless of age or societal norms. One evening, after a tense dinner where family members made their opinions clear once again, Theresa stood up. The room fell silent as she spoke with confidence. "My boyfriend will be staying with my children, and we will all work together as a family. It's not right for anyone to comment on something they don't fully understand." Her voice was steady but firm. She wasn't going to let their concerns overshadow her happiness. She had faced criticism before, from skeptics and naysayers, and had always risen above it. This time, it would be no different. Her boyfriend, standing beside her, placed his hand gently on her shoulder. He had known that winning the approval of Theresa's family wouldn't be easy, but he was ready for it. He was committed not only to her but to the family they were building together. In the following months, as Theresa's belly grew, so did the support from her family. Slowly but surely, her children began to see how much her new relationship had brought her joy. They realized that the age difference didn't matter. What mattered was that their mother was happy, and she deserved nothing less than to live her life fully and on her own terms. By the time the baby arrived, Theresa's family had embraced the idea of the new addition. They weren't just welcoming a new grandchild, they were welcoming a new beginning. And as the baby's first cries echoed through the house, Theresa looked around at her loved ones, knowing that this new chapter was exactly what she needed. Love had a way of finding its path, no matter the roadblocks. However, it was a sunny afternoon in Long Island when Theresa Caputo, the famous medium, invited her daughter Victoria and her new boyfriend, Jake, over for lunch. Theresa had a reputation for being a little intense, especially when it came to reading people. Jake, a tall, nervous-looking guy, had heard the stories about Theresa. He knew she had a gift, but he wasn't sure if he believed in it. Still, he wanted to make a good impression, so he brought flowers and a box of Italian pastries. As they sat in Theresa's cozy kitchen, eating pasta and laughing about old family stories, Theresa suddenly tilted her head. She narrowed her eyes at Jake. "Oh, honey," she said, her Long Island accent thick. "There's a spirit coming through for you." Jake nearly choked on his meatball. "F for me," he stammered. Theresa nodded. "Yeah, oh wow, this is strong. Someone who passed recently, a male figure, someone you were close to." Jake's face went pale. "My grandfather," he whispered. Victoria reached for his hand, but Theresa was already deep in the reading. "He's showing me an old watch. Does that mean something to you? Jake's eyes widened. He pulled a chain from under his shirt, revealing an antique pocket watch. This was his, he said, his voice cracking. Theresa smiled softly. He says he's proud of you, and he wants you to stop doubting yourself. He knows you've been struggling with something, maybe work, maybe feeling like you're not good enough. But he says you are enough, and he's always with you. Jake's lips quivered. He tried to hold it in, but the emotion hit him like a wave. Tears streamed down his face as he covered his mouth with his hands. Victoria rubbed his back. Are you okay? Jake sniffled and wiped his eyes. Yeah, it's just, I never got to say goodbye to him, but now it feels like I did. Theresa patted his hand. That's why I do this, sweetheart. By the end of lunch, Jake was still a little shaken, but he felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. As they got up to leave, he gave Theresa a tight hug. Thank you, he whispered. Theresa grinned. Welcome to the family, kid. And with that, Jake officially became part of the Caputo clan, whether he was ready or not. However, Theresa Caputo had seen countless grieving souls walk into her readings, but something about Lisa Thompson felt different. The young woman sat stiffly in the chair, her fingers tangled together, her eyes hollow yet expectant. I lost my father and my brother in a car accident 3 years ago, Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to know if they're okay. Theresa nodded, closing her eyes. She took a deep breath, letting the energy of the room shift. Then it happened. A presence, no two, swept through her. A deep sadness, but also warmth. Oh, honey, Theresa whispered, her eyes fluttering open. They're together. Your dad, he keeps saying he's still protecting you. And your brother, he's joking around, saying he's got the best seat in the house. Lisa's breath hitched. That sounds like them. Theresa's voice softened. Your dad wants you to stop blaming yourself. He says you keep thinking, if I had called them earlier, if I had made them stay a little longer, but he needs you to let that go. Tears slipped down Lisa's face. I do. I think that all the time. Theresa smiled gently. He's telling me to remind you, live, baby girl, we are not gone, just beyond. Lisa covered her mouth, sobbing, but this time, the weight on her chest felt lighter. For the first time in 3 years, she believed it. However, Theresa, a young woman with a deep connection to the world of spirit, found herself drawn to a quiet park one crisp autumn afternoon. She had been feeling a pull in her heart, a quiet nudge that she couldn't ignore. Sitting on a weathered bench under the shade of a tall oak tree, Theresa closed her eyes and let the sounds of the world fade away. Suddenly, a soft whisper reached her ears, one that wasn't from anyone in the park. It was gentle but insistent. Theresa, listen, the voice said, and she opened her eyes. Before her, standing as though she had been there all along, was a woman, her figure radiating warmth. Her hair was gently swept back, and there was a softness about her, as if she belonged to a world of love and nurturing. Theresa felt an immediate connection to her. The woman smiled kindly and spoke. I'm your mother. I've been waiting for you to hear me. Tears welled up in Theresa's eyes as the realization hit her. This was no ordinary encounter. This was a spirit, a mother who had passed on, but whose love never faded. Theresa had always felt the presence of her mother in her heart, but now, for the first time, she could hear her voice, clear as day. The woman continued, I've been watching over you, my dear. You've been struggling, but I want you to know that you're not alone. My love will always surround you, just as it always has. Overwhelmed by the deep, unconditional love, Theresa's heart swelled. Her mother's spirit wrapped her in warmth, even though they were worlds apart. With each word spoken, Theresa felt the weight on her heart lift, and for the first time in a long while, she felt peace. She felt understood. She felt loved in a way that transcended the physical world. As the moment passed, the spirit of her mother gave her a final loving look and whispered, You are strong, my dear. Keep going, and know that I am with you always. When the spirit disappeared, Theresa remained on the bench, tears streaming down her face, but these were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of profound gratitude. She had felt the spirit of her mother, a force of love that never left her, and that realization would carry her through every challenge she would face in life. With a heart full of love and a renewed sense of strength, Theresa stood up, ready to face the world, knowing she would always be connected to the one who had loved her most, the spirit of her mother, forever by her side. However, it was the night before Jessica's big day, and her friends were ready to throw her the most unforgettable bachelorette party. The venue was a trendy rooftop bar in Manhattan, the city's skyline glowing with lights, the air filled with laughter and excitement. They had everything planned: cocktails, a DJ, and even a private tarot card reader. But little did Jessica know, the night would take an unexpected turn. As the group settled into their reserved area, a surprise guest arrived, none other than Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium. She wasn't there to crash the party. She was a friend of one of Jessica's bridesmaids, and they thought it would be a fun surprise to have Theresa offer some spiritual guidance. At first, Jessica didn't know what to think. Was this a joke? After all, she had never been one to believe in spirits. But her curiosity got the best of her, and she agreed to let Theresa give a reading. Theresa, in her signature blonde hair and radiant energy, immediately began scanning the room. She had a way of making everyone feel at ease, despite the unusual nature of what she was about to do. "Jessica," Theresa said, locking eyes with the bride-to-be, "I'm picking up on someone close to you. A woman, perhaps a mother or grandmother figure, who has passed. She wants you to know that she's with you tonight. She's been keeping an eye on you, making sure everything goes as planned for your big day." Jessica's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help but think of her late grandmother, who had always been a guiding light in her life. She tried to hide the tears welling up in her eyes, unsure of how to react. Theresa smiled warmly. "She's proud of you, Jessica, and she's sending you a message. Don't worry so much. Your wedding is going to be beautiful, just like you've always dreamed." The room fell silent as Jessica processed the message. Her friends, skeptical at first, began whispering among themselves, wondering if Theresa was reading their minds too. Theresa's next words, however, caught everyone off guard. "I'm also picking up on a man who's been lingering in your thoughts lately," she said, pointing to one of Jessica's bridesmaids. "You've been questioning whether he's the one. I can tell you, he's meant to be part of your life. Don't let doubt cloud your heart. He's the one." The bridesmaid gasped. She had been dating someone for a while, but wasn't sure about her future with him. Now, with Theresa's words hanging in the air, she felt a sense of clarity. As the night went on, Theresa continued to bring messages from loved ones who had passed, offering comfort and wisdom to everyone in the group. It was a night of unexpected emotions, laughter, and connections beyond the physical world. By the end of the evening, Jessica felt a sense of peace. Prepared to walk down the aisle the next day, she knew her grandmother's spirit was with her, guiding her every step of the way. And thanks to Theresa, she felt more certain about the love in her life than ever before. The bachelorette party, filled with laughter, love, and a touch of the supernatural, was a night none of them would ever forget. However, it was a crisp autumn morning, and Emma was preparing for the most important day of her life, her wedding. As the final touches were being made to the venue, the excitement in the air was palpable. But for Emma, there was a bittersweet feeling that lingered. Her father, who had passed away 5 years ago, would never be there to walk her down the aisle, to share in her joy, or offer his protective embrace on this special day. Emma had always believed in the power of connection, especially the kind that transcends time. As a little girl, she remembered her father's warmth and how he would always say, "Even when I'm not around, I'll always be with you." Now, as she stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her wedding dress, a wave of sadness washed over her. At that moment, Emma's phone rang. It was an unexpected call from Theresa Caputo, the famed Long Island medium. Emma had never met her, but something about the timing of the call felt like fate. "Hello, Emma. This is Theresa Caputo," the voice on the other end said. "I know this might seem strange, but I feel a very strong presence around you, and it's someone who loves you dearly. It's your father. He's with you today, just like he promised." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she listened to Theresa's words. The medium continued, "Your father says he's so proud of the woman you've become. He's watching over you right now, and he's sending you his love. He wants you to know that even though he won't be able to walk you down the aisle in person, he will be there in spirit, by your side every step of the way." Emma felt a comforting warmth surround her, and in that moment she knew her father was with her. She could almost hear his voice in her mind, telling her to hold her head high and enjoy the day. Theresa's message, though unexpected, brought an overwhelming sense of peace. As the ceremony began, Emma walked down the aisle with her heart full of love and remembrance. She felt her father's presence beside her, not physically, but in every beat of her heart. The world around her seemed to fade, and for a brief moment, she was connected to him once again. And in that moment, she knew that love, even after death, never truly fades. It lives on in the memories, the moments, and in the spirit of those we hold dear. However, on a crisp autumn evening, the small town of Bayview was buzzing with excitement as the renowned medium, Theresa Caputo, prepared for her live show at the local theater. Among the crowd was a woman named Emily, who had been struggling with grief after losing her mother, Linda, to a sudden illness. The pain of her loss still clung to her heart like a heavy weight, making each day feel like a struggle to survive. Emily had heard of Theresa's remarkable abilities and the way she connected with spirits on the other side, but she never truly believed in it. Still, deep down, she wondered if just once she could feel a glimpse of her mother's presence again, to hear her voice, to receive any sign that Linda was still watching over her. The show began, and the room was filled with an energy that seemed to vibrate through every person in attendance. Theresa walked on stage, exuding warmth and confidence as she greeted the audience. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, and then, with a soft, clear voice, she began to speak. "I have a woman here," she began, her eyes scanning the room. "She's telling me she's a mother, and she's so sorry for the pain her daughter is feeling. There's a message here for someone in the audience. Is there a daughter named Emily?" Emily's heart skipped a beat. She felt the chill run down her spine, a sensation that had been haunting her since the day her mother passed. Slowly, she raised her hand, trembling, not knowing what to expect. Theresa's gaze immediately locked onto her. "Emily," she said gently, "your mother is here. She says she loves you so much and that she is so proud of you. She wants you to know that she is with you, every step of the way. She's been watching over you, especially in the moments when you felt most alone." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. It was as if her mother's voice had broken through the invisible barrier between life and death, and for the first time in months, Emily felt a warmth she hadn't known since her mother's passing. Her heart ached with the joy of hearing her mother's love once more, even though it was from the other side. Theresa continued, "She tells me that there's a specific memory of you two baking together in the kitchen. She says that every time you bake, she is right there with you, guiding your hands, just like she always did." Emily's sobs broke free, her tears flowing freely. The floodgates had opened, and she could finally let the grief spill out. Her mother was still there, still present, still caring, still loving her. The crowd was silent, moved by the raw emotion of the moment. Theresa's voice softened as she added, "Your mother wants you to remember that you are never truly alone. Love transcends time and space, Emily. It's always with you." In that moment, Emily felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She could almost feel her mother's embrace, her warmth, her presence enveloping her. The pain of loss was still there, but now there was a sense of peace, of knowing that her mother would always be with her, watching over her, guiding her, even if only from beyond the veil. As the show ended and the audience slowly filed out of the theater, Emily stayed seated for a moment longer, feeling a profound sense of comfort she hadn't felt in months. The chills she had felt earlier were no longer a sign of fear, but of love, of a connection that nothing, not even death, could sever. And as she left the theater, Emily whispered into the night sky, "Thank you, Mom. I love you too." Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.